Hi, I'm Matt from Exoracing, and today we're going to show you how much it costs to KSwap your car. So we're going to try and cover the pricing in different sections so it's easy to understand and you can just skip to the bits that you want to watch. So most of the kits that we priced have been for a Civic EK, so we're going to use that as our base today, but if you're doing a universal KSwap, this will still be helpful. Okay, so the first part we're going to start with OEM parts. So all the parts you're going to need are engine, gearbox, you're going to need loom, starter motor, clutch, flywheel and ECU. Generally you can pick these up on Facebook Marketplace or you might know someone who's selling one. We estimate this is probably around the 1,500 to £2.5 mark, around there somewhere, so we're going to go 2,000 for this. So if you're doing the KSwap to an EK, you're going to need EG subframe, steering rack and control arms. This is purely to move the engine back a bit. If you already have an EG or a DC2, you should be absolutely fine. But if it's an EK, you're going to need that, and we're going to budget around the £250 mark for this. So running total wise, that brings the section to £2,250. So the rest of the parts you're going to need here are the aftermarket parts. We're going to start from the transmission side and work all the way back to the fueling. So you've already got the engine and gearbox. Next thing you need to do is actually mount it in the car. So we need some engine mounts. Next on the list is the shifter setup. So you're going to want a shifter, base plate and cables. If you really want to, you can use OEM shifter and cables, but for this we're going to go aftermarket because again it's the most popular one that we do. So we would normally go with a chassis mounted shifter such as the Hybrid Racing DC5 shifter. Cables, normally either Hybrid Racing or K-Tune, one of the two, and base plate just matched whichever shifter you go with. So the next thing you're going to need is a Firewall Grommet. This is a bit of aluminium plate with rubber on the inside and it helps the cables from rubbing through. Okay, next part on the list is going to be throttle cable. So the OEM throttle cable isn't going to work down to the bracket on the throttle body. So you're going to need something aftermarket. Hybrid Racing is a great option here and that's what we normally sell. Okay, next up on the list are Driveshafts. So two different options here. You can either go down the DIY route and build your own or buy aftermarket off the shelf ones. So Hasbro do Driveshafts off the shelf and as long as you match your specific car, you should be absolutely fine. Alternatively, if you want to build them yourself, you can go with K-Series Driveshafts with K-Series inners and B-Series outers. And that is normally the DIY cheaper option to do it. Okay, so running total of this section. So we've got the Hasbro engine mounts that are £736.97. We've got the Hybrid Racing DC5 shifter that's £473. We've got the Hybrid Racing DC5 shifter cables which are £439. We've got the Hybrid Racing shifter base plate that's £193. We've got the K-Tune shifter cable grommet that is £64 and 2 pence. We've got the Hybrid Racing KSwap clutch line that's £79. We've got the Hybrid Racing throttle cable that's £35, and lastly the most popular part is the custom drive shafts which are £350. So that brings the running total in this section to £4,619.99. Okay, so next on the list is intake and exhaust system. So we're going to start with the intake. We would normally go with a Hybrid Racing intake here which is fully silicone and it's a cold air intake. Bolt straight in, don't have any problems with it, so we're just going to go straight to that one. If you really wanted to, you could also go with a universal option, i.e. make your own, or go with another kit such as K-Tuned. Totally up to you on this one. So now the intake's sorted, you're going to need an exhaust manifold, specifically for a KSwap. The most popular one we have here is the Tegwa KSwap manifold. We sell loads of them, don't have any problems with them, and they bolt up entirely to the system. The only thing to note though is that they actually remove the cat in the system. So if you're trying to make it fully road legal, you might have to put a sports cat or something later on down the line. So parts cost in this section, we've got the Tegwa KSwap exhaust manifold that is £544.50 and the Hybrid Racing KSwap cold air intake which is £230. So that brings the running total in this section to £5,394.49. Okay, now we move on to the electronic side. So people think this is way harder than it is. It really isn't that bad, especially if you're using the stock ECU. So the most popular thing here is to use a stock ECU rather than something aftermarket. So you're going to have to use an Immobiliser Bypass kit. This is because the key registers to the ECU, and with the Immobiliser Bypass completely gets rid of all of that and you can just start it straight away in any chassis. So the most popular Immobiliser Bypass we sell is either the Hybrid Racing or the K-Tune version. They're both pretty popular, both do the same thing, so it's totally up to you which one you go with. So if you didn't want to stay with a stock ECU and you wanted to go with an aftermarket one for more tunability, you can do. You can go with something like a Haltech Elite 1500 or like a Honda AK Pro, and in which case it will give you extra tunability, boost tables and all that kind of stuff. And you also then wouldn't need the Immobiliser Bypass. So this one's totally up to you. Just for the purpose of this guide, the most popular thing is a stock ECU with an Immobiliser Bypass, so we're going to go with that. So the next thing you're going to need is a conversion harness. This is to make the ECU and everything work together with the clocks. Couple of options here. Again, Hybrid Racing are a good option. They have a few different kits, specific chassis wise, and they also have a universal option. Totally up to you which one you go with, but yeah, hybrid we just had the most success with, so we just go hybrid racing on this one. Okay, so cost-wise in this section, we've got the Hybrid Racing Immobiliser Bypass, that is £275, and we've got the Hybrid Racing Conversion Harness, which is £240. So that brings the running total in this section to £5,909.49. Okay, now we move on to the cooling system. There's quite a lot of individual parts in here, because now you've moved different engine, like we need different hoses, we need different radiator, and loads of different parts to go with it. So we're going to start with the radiator. We need a specific KSwap radiator because the hose ports on a like B or D series are in the center of the radiator. This one needs to be over to the opposite side. So good option here is the Tegra KSwap radiator, the dual length, and that will start you as a base to work everything else around. So to make the radiator work with the KSwap that's now in there, you're going to need an extra clearance top hose. This is to miss the throttle body and the intake that you've just put in, and a good option is the Tegra hose. So next on the list, you're going to have to find a port for the fan switch and the coolant temp sensor. Tegra actually have an insert that goes in one of the hoses and is a very good option here. It's pretty much plug and play. You can just chuck everything together and be done with it. So we're going to go with that on this. Next thing on the list would be fan. We always go to Spal on this one because they're incredibly reliable and they're not even that expensive. You can either go with like a 10 or a 12-inch option depending on how much room you've got, but again, Spal is a good option here. So the next thing on the list would be the thermostat housing. So the OEM plastic one quite often breaks. We always go with the T7 design swivel neck thermostat housing. This means you can rotate the thing 360 degrees and it's just a really good option. It comes with a couple of different ports, so you can convert to either 32mm or AN16, and it's just easy to fit with the bottom hose. Right, let's go through the costs in this section. So we've got the Tegra KSwap radiator. There is £181.50. We've got the Tegra extra clearance top hose that is £33.11. We've got the Tegra KSwap hose insert with the fan switch and coolant temp sensor, and that is £56.03. We've got the Spal fan, we're going to go 12-inch on this one, and that's £80.40. And last on the list, we've got the T7 design thermostat housing, and that is £156. So that brings the running total so far to £6,413.53. Right, now we have everything mounted in the car. Last thing we need to do is the fuel system. So the EP3 uses a return system from factory. Now, because we're swapping to a different chassis, generally you need to run a return system. So we're going to need a couple of parts here to make it work. We're going to need fuel rail, fuel lines, and fuel pressure regulator. Luckily, Hybrid Racing, again, make all of these parts nice and easy, plug and play. So the part cost total in this section, we've got the Hybrid Racing fuel rail, and that is £204. We've got the Hybrid Racing fuel pressure regulator, and that is £240. And lastly, we've got the Hybrid Racing KSwap fuel line kit, and that is £167. So that brings the whole total to £7,027.53. So that is everything you need to do the KSwap. We're now going to go into the optional parts, which you don't have to do, but they are just nice quality of life things. Okay, so we're now onto the optional parts. You don't have to use anything from this section if you don't want to, but they're always just nice to have things. So first thing I'd start with is silicone hose kit. Quite often, if you're just swapping an old one in from a breaker, you're going to have perished old rubber hoses, so we'd go with like an Exoracing silicone hose kit or just any other hose kit you can find. As long as it's good quality, you should be okay. Okay, next up would be the most popular parts that we do actually sell overall, and that would be detent springs and gear springs. So again, we can either go with Hybrid Racing or Speed Factory on this. They both have really good products and they generally don't fail, so I'll go with those. They just help improve shift to feel, and it's just going to make the KSwap overall better. Next up, we would go with a T7 design alternator relocation kit. So this moves the alternator lower down and it allows you to go a bigger inlet manifold, such as the Skunk 2 Ultra Street or just any large inlet on the market. Also, you could go with a T7 electric water plate kit if you were in like a race application, or if you wanted to have like your water control, ECU or PWM controlled. So totally up to you on either of those two, but they're just nice to have. Another thing that's worth mentioning here is the Hybrid Racing aircon kit or power steering kit. If you don't already have it, then you could just add it in if you wanted to. It's just nice to have on the road. Totally up to you again. Last thing on the optional part list would be ECU. So I did mention it earlier on in the video, but something like a Haltech Elite 1500 is going to like change the drivability of it entirely. If you're going like boosted or anything else, like really high lift cams or high comp NA, just anything else, it's worth going with just to get the most out of the build. I'm just going to run through a quick part cost here. Again, totally optional, but I'll just run through anyway. So Exoracing silicone hose kit is £149.99. Hybrid racing to 10 springs are £22. Hybrid racing gear selector springs are £26.99. T7 design alternator relocation kit is £396. T7 design electric water pump kit is £420. Hybrid racing aircon kit is £240. The hybrid racing KSwap power steering kit is £380. And the Haltech Elite 1500 with jump harness is £1,693. So there we have it. That is everything to do a KSwap to your car. The total cost is, we're going to drum roll again. I can't even see my hands on camera now. I look like a right idiot. It is £7,027.53, and that is obviously without you having to do the work or any other fabrication, but that is just solely in parts. So thank you for watching the video. Hopefully you really enjoyed it and it was really helpful for you, or if it's helped a friend, then please make sure you share it. Make sure to subscribe to the channel because we have loads more informational videos coming, and we'll see you on the next one. So we've tried to be as in-depth as possible on this one. If we have missed anything, please let me know in the comments below and we can always edit the video in the future.